Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks and Gainy Titan, and in this slightly longer than usual episode I am going to give the highs and lows of achieving the third mark of excellence on the T67. Yes folks, I have finally managed to do it. It is probably the most difficult of the three third marks of excellence that I have so far gained. I have a third mark of excellence on the Hellcat, which was the first one I ever did and probably the most stressful thing I ever did in my life. I'll get back to that in a moment. The second tank that I third marked was the T-25-2, the successor to the Hellcat. The Hellcat, this is Tier 5, Tier 6, Tier 7, the Tier 7 American tank destroyer on the same line. The T-25-2 I managed to do it while I was grinding at the tank, and I actually found it relatively easy. It was relatively stress-free because I was principally grinding at the tank, and it actually was easy. You know, I didn't find that that's particularly stressful. I also decided deliberately that I would not let myself get stressed about it. The thing about stress is that in some cases it's stuff you take on yourself. It's a result of frustration, and frustration with yourself because of your performances. At least that's what I would think in things like World of Tanks. If you're getting stressed out over a game, you're stressed out over your performance, and you're stressed out of your relative performance relative to previous performances. But the problem is that it actually does take an exceptional level of performance and a level of consistency to get a third mark of excellence. You could be quite good in a tank and have some really good games, and say have not much trouble getting ace tanker games, but be wildly inconsistent with the tank, and you might never get a third mark of excellence in. Like derp tanks might be a particular case in point. The KV2 or something like that. You could have some very great fun games in the KV2 where you do 500 points of damage and you do 8 kills, half of them one shots and stuff like that. But that might be 1 in 30 games. The rest of them you do 700 points of damage, you get 2 shots off, and you get blown up. And in such circumstances, you'd probably never get 3 marks of excellence on the KV2, although you might get 2. Simply because it's consistency that gets you marks of excellence. And this was a particularly difficult tank, I think I found, because the numbers, to me anyway, they seem to be quite high. Above, between 1100 and 900 points, you were not making any progress. You might make some forward progress at the 1100 end, but it was tiny, it was less than 0.1%. Down at the 900 end, you were losing. But again, somewhere in the less than 0.1% range. But once you fell outside that range, you were losing, say below, you were losing quite rapidly, 0.3, 0.5%. A 0 damage game might lose you a full percent. But the thing is, 1200 points on a T67 is nearly 3 times its somewhere in the region of 2.5 times its hit points. That's an exceptionally good performance. People who get that kind of performance on a regular basis actually are few enough. So, and it's very difficult to achieve particularly in winning games. So winning games are actually worse than losing games, because in winning games, especially winning games where the enemy team just melts, you're nobody spotting for you. The front line is constantly moving. The enemy team are dying as fast as you can get the gun lined at them, and you've got to go and chase the game. You're going to go chase the damage, and frequently you'll be doing it in situations where you're a lower tier tank. And there are, there is a KV5 derp gun, alright, which could probably do you, certainly do you a 2-shot. Can't remember there are other tier 5 derp guns, but there are quite a few tier 6 tanks and a lot of tier 7 tanks that can one-shot a T67. So chasing damage can be high risk, and this is where the frustration sets in, because you could gain You could have a really good game. You could have a 2,500 damage game, combined damage between spotting and whatever, and you gain like 1.2%, and you're up to 94%, 94.3 or 94.4, and the next 5 games in a row are sub 1,000 point games, and some of them as low as maybe 500 points or so, because they're urban maps, or your urban maps in your bottom tier or whatever, and you start getting frustrated, you start taking risks, and then you start doing crazy stupid stuff that won't get you anywhere. In that case, my advice to you would be really stop. So in my case, I think it helped that like when I did the Hellcat attempt, I was actually focused exclusively on the Hellcat attempt. I had maybe 1 or 2 tanks that I drove kind of as relief for when the Hellcat was dead, but most of the time I was actually trying to 3-mark the Hellcat. I was only trying to do that this time in the last week, really, when I was starting to get consistently up into the 92-93% mark. But I'd have to stop sometimes because you just start losing points and start finding yourself getting frustrated with the game, and the thing really to do is to stop and go away and play something else. Play World of Warships, play different tanks, play a completely different game. So speaking of completely different games, I'm on credits. I've got a shout out on the credits for Triumph. I never thought that I'd find myself getting a shout out in the credits of another game. However, you should check out for Triumph. I'll be doing more videos on it later in the week. However, as I was saying, yes, so the frustration, yeah, it can get to you, but only if you let it get to you. So I was mostly grinding out the Waffenträger Panzer IV, which I've also managed to elite. So that was actually the only damage, the ramming damage, the MT-25 in the entire game. So as I said, I dropped down to 80 points a couple of times. 80% damage standing. That's lower than the Mark 2 marks of excellence. I hit the 93 points twice prior to this. Not the 93 points, 94 points twice prior to this occasion. This game was started, I think, around 93 points 7 or something like that. 93.6 maybe. Or maybe even less, could have been 93.4. But this is turned out to be a pretty good game, and again, I was about to give up. I was actually thinking of I had enough done for the evening. I was starting to get a little frustrated with it, but Prokhorovka is a good map. No, things can go badly. I mean, I've had games go badly on Prokhorovka where it just went disastrously, and I didn't get the points that I was hoping to get. This is a kind of a risky position. It's a good scouting position, a very good passive scouting position, but it's a dangerous position to shoot from because you can be spotted, particularly by higher tier tanks out in the field. So if there were tier 7 tanks, tier 7 light tanks out in the field, shooting from here can get you spotted. Now the KV-1S did not spot me because Sixth Sense hasn't gone off. Neither of the two of them have spotted me. But they're shooting at the tracers, and they know where that bush is a good, a known location, shall we say, for hidden tanks. Now I'm too far back to spot the Panzer IV, but I am not moving because if I move, there's a chance that he'll see me in the gap. And he didn't move. I was able to get 2 or 3 shots into him before he got spotted again, and there he is. He spotted, so we finish him off. So now it's safe to go back into the bushes again, and I should be able to pick up some more opportunities for spotting and for some long-range damage. Now these guys out in the field are too far away. They're not going to spot me, and they're also low-tier tanks. So I think we're relatively high tier in this game, and there was a G1, B1. G1R is not going to spot me either. Most of those guys, the tier 5s and the tier 4s, are not going to spot me in this location at all. an MT-50, an M1542. I don't know who they are. At least I don't remember them. SAR-42 is a pretty crap tank. Actually, it's got pretty limited view range. Most of the low-tier French tanks are very poor. Some of them have decent enough armour, but they're slow and they have poor gun handling. And very limited view range in many cases. So we now have to take risks, but we're at a reasonable point where we can afford to take risks, because we're pushing out of the zone where we're going to lose points. We're now pushing into the zone where we're going to gain points. So, in fact, I think we've already more or less hit the zone where we're starting to gain points. Any further damage, either assisted damage from spotting or tracking. Tracking is a very good source of damage. However, this isn't a great tank for tracking. The gun is just a bit too low caliber, and the accuracy isn't great, so you can't reliably shoot out the tracks of tanks. And at ranges you'll frequently miss if you're trying to shoot out the tracks of tanks. And one of the things about this tank as well is that while you can spam ammunition out fairly fast, it does run out. This isn't like an AT2 or some of the particularly British tank destroyers that just seem to have vast supplies of ammunition. This thing can actually run out. I have run out of ammunition. In this tank, I've run out of ammunition with enemy tanks remaining to kill, which can, especially if you're the last tank standing, can be very embarrassing. In fact, I think the last time I did it, I wasn't the last tank standing, and I just went to scout mode. It was a completely passive scout because I had no ammunition to fire. All I could do was hide in bushes and spot the enemy tanks for the heavy tanks on my team, and let them do the killing. So we're down to 2 tanks, but now we have secured a decent win. We're 1800 points combined damage. So this is going to be a good damage standing game. It's going to result in a good solid increase in the damage standing. So we've just got to get rid of the long bomb, and we'll find out what our result is. And this turned out to be my penultimate game, because when we come in to look at the damage standing now, we see the victory results in a moment. On you go. We have a high caliber and a first class mastery. 4 destroyed enemy tanks. So the important number here is, what does this do for us now? Press the button. We know what a first class mastery does. We're on 94.73. So at this point I was torn actually, because I had been doing badly all that day. Not terribly badly, but I'd been hovering between 92 and 93% over 20 games, up and down, several times. And I thought, if I play another game and it's a bad game, I could lose the entire 1% that I gain. However, we're on Arctic. Now, Arctic isn't a great map for a T67, but it's not the worst map. Insk or Ghost Town or something like that would be way worse. So I'm going to take a chance. I think that this is a very chancy location. Because it's quite easy to get spotted here. But if you can get away with it, it's a great location. If you're allowed to stay here for a good bit of time, and a lot of enemy tanks come around the bottom side of the map. However, the worst possible result is you have a Cromwell coming down the near side passage, and he could spot me if I fire from the bushes. So I pull out as far as I can, but if I pull out too far, he'll spot me in the open anyway. So I need to keep the bushes between myself and the Cromwell. He's the one most likely to spot me, because the higher tier medium and light tanks are actually quite good. They have good view ranges, and if he's got any view range boosters and he's got crews that are capable, a lot of people have nowadays. The thing is, you're playing now against a fairly veteran player base. I don't think this game is attracting much, if any, new players anymore. And even if it does, I don't think it's doing a good job of retaining new players. You're increasingly getting to the point, if you play low tier, and I mean tier 2 games where you're actually not on the full 15v15, even at peak times. And I've heard people claiming on the forums that the lower tiers now are being filled up with bots. Now I haven't seen it yet. I've seen reduced sized teams, but I haven't seen any low tier bots. So my suspicion is that if it's happening, it's probably only happening when the queue time is starting to get extreme. Though that said, I've had 2.5 to 3 minute waits. Now I haven't played much low tier, as I said, but I have a tier 2 Polish tank destroyer that I bought ages and ages ago for the purposes of training Polish crews. And now that I've completed the Mark of Excellence quest, and I've completed the Waffenträger, I've deleted the Waffenträger Panzer IV, my next thing is to probably train up some minor nation crews to 3 or 4 skills and kick off the grind to tier 10 on the minor nations. Now I'm thinking of Poles and Czechs and a German line. I'm actually thinking of going with the Lux German light tank line from the Panzer Lux to the VK2801, is it? 2802, I can't remember. On up into the German light tanks. But I could equally do the Panther line. If anyone has an opinion, feel free to say so, because I could 6 of one, half a dozen others as far as I'm concerned. I probably would enjoy both, but if anyone had a preference, I'd be inclined to accommodate them. And I'm probably going to bring this up again anyway when I'm playing the premium tanks, just to get the crews up into shape, into the tanks that I want. And I have a German crew that's pretty decent, but they're on the Hetzer and they're destined for the the other German tank destroyer line up through the Jagdpanzer, Jagdcats into the Ferdinands and whatever. Although there's 2 ways of doing that, and I could skip the lower ones as well. I don't know, the German tick tree just bounces in and out all over the place. There's lots of ways of doing it, and unlocking mid-tier tanks and final tier branches without having to go through a lot of the lower tiers. There's just so many tanks that I can see myself actually just doing free XP. Now, I think we've reached the point where we've secured a gain. We're going to gain XP. Well, we had 74.7 something in the last game, 73. So we've probably gained enough already to have secured the 3rd Mark of Excellence. Any further damage after this is going to be sort of a bonus. Now I probably should have gone straight back and helped out the medium against the heavy. Oh, it looks like the artillery just after clobbering the heavy. So, at this point I actually decided to do just that. There was nothing else for me up here, rather than going herring off into the enemy cap circle. And however, our guy looks like he won. It also looks like he was taken out by the heavy as well. So he must have caught fire or something. So we turn around and we head back the other way. The 14 TP has decided to vacate the territory and head back to defend his cap. He's probably left it a bit late. He should really have gone back while he had allies back there to support. I think it's a mistake. If you're hanging around someplace for too long and you're not doing anything, you're not seeing anything, there's no point really in hanging around there. The Fury was decided to leave the vicinity of the heavy tank, but then he's coming under fire from an invisible tank that he cannot see, and he's decided that perhaps facing the heavy tank might be the better option. Long bomb at very long range. I don't think I'm going to do anything. That shot didn't seem to go anywhere. So I need to get closer when I get another round. Don't have a lot to shoot at, you see. And he's moving around, so chances of hitting anything are pretty remote. So we're going to keep going, get up into the enemy base area and see who's still alive. When we get there, we have the Churchill closing in. In front of me we have another heavy tank closing in from the south. Now there are 2 enemy tanks facing the heavy, but somebody has gotten the long bomb. And I've decided to go for the artillery, because we know that the light tank is down in the gap. And we meet the first artillery. So I come up, put a round into him, he rams me, does a lot of damage actually, and then I get taken out by the other artillery. And that's it. Game over as I'm concerned. However, I have, 1800 points combined damage. Nearly 1900 points combined damage, and there's only one. We're going to win this anyway, so I'm not too worried about the winning and losing. As I said frequently, losing games give you more damage. If you can survive to the end of a losing game, you can frequently do more damage than you can on a winning game. Now, that's not to say that you can't do amazing amounts of damage on winning games, but sometimes you can do it. It's easier to do amazing amounts of damage on losing games if you can live long enough to manage to do it. Anyway, that is it. We got the victory. We got our 3rd mark of excellence. So we have 1st class mastery, Confederate, and the 3rd mark of excellence. So I might 3 stars on the gun barrel. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and a share. Feel free to comment. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.